So when he cooks or do that, clean, I go, oh, honey, thank you for washing the dish.
So many times you think that the touch can only happen during the sexual act and the union between that husband and wife. But the touch could be in the small thing, many boxes. But you never know what's inside until you do what?
Open it.
Open it. All right. And then hold up this and you'll see that there are other boxes are inside. And men, we need to be romantic. Keep it real. Well, welcome to Keep It Real. I am your host, Dr. Keith ROLLE, and Sister Joy Osweke ROLLE. She is not here. And we just want to thank all of our Facebook. We are on Facebook now over in South Africa, and you can be able to look at us there, but we're on the YouTube, Keepitrealtv 49. You can go and view all the back episode. And we are at the end of January 2024. We pray that all of the resolutions that you have made, I like to make proclamations myself, and therefore it's right on track. We have an exciting program. We'll introduce our special guest, and boy, I tell you, if it wasn't for his son being in Houston, because he is in great demand and he has been hard to get here. We've been trying all last year, but he's at the right place at the right time with the right persons, and to do the right thing. We're going to talk about health and nutrition. So we want to thank our sponsors first, and then we're going to introduce our special guests. That's the Bartholomew Real Estate Group, Brian and Angelique Bartholomew, and he'll be on co-hosting. He was on co-hosting episodes 48 and 49. There's their information up there if you would like to get in touch with him, as well as if you would like to be a sponsor any month this year. We have openings from February through December 2024. Give me a call. We'll put our slide up at the end, and you'll see the number in which you can call. Well, today we have Dr. Travis Batts. And he is a cardiologist. If you can put up his bio, and then that way we can get to learn who he is. And I tell you, he come with a great resume, board certified cardiac specialist, lecturer, nutritionist. Today you're going to learn how you can eat healthy and stay alive, author of peer-reviewed articles in journals, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and community advocate. He also has a LLC. We'll be talking about what he does in photography and other enterprises. He's a formal Division I athlete, and he's husband and father. And we are so glad to have Dr. Travis Batts, MD, on our Keep It Real program. Dr. Batts, welcome to Keep It Real.
Well, thank you for having me. And first off, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to really share with you and the viewers about health, right? Especially as we start this new year. And when you talk about keeping it real, what you have to do is keep it real with yourself, right? You have to keep it real with health. So thank you for having me, and I'm glad to engage in any conversation that we want to have.
Well, like I said, we've been trying to get you all to 2023, and just so happened you're here in Houston, and you were able to juggle some things around and come and do this program. So this is a year for a fresh start. There's some things you need to delete out of your life. Just like a computer, you can delete, you can hit the refresh button and restart. It's a year for special you. We'll put up the topic in a minute. A year for strategies, a year to serve, and a year to be a success. And you can't achieve your success without you. Whatever plans and goals and dreams you have for 2024. So there, if you can flash it up again so that our audience can see it. A new year, a new you, harnessing the power of health. Boy, we want out of this program, what you're going to get, you're going to learn how to take back your life by taking back your health. And health is in your area of skill sets and competency. And by the way, we want to thank you for your salute, your support, as well as your service and sacrifice to our great nation, serving in the armed forces. So tell us about health and just give us an overview of what our listening audience are going to get how they can harness. I think about, you harness maybe oxen that want to plow, and our lives need to be harnessed. In fact, the scripture verses 3 John 2 says, I wish that you be in health and that your soul prosper also. Mm-hmm. And we talk about health and wealth. And that's one of my goals for 2024. You can have health and no wealth, and you can have wealth and poor health, and you're in a quasi. So when you talk about harnessing your new year and harnessing your health for that holistic health, tell our listening audience, what are you talking about?
Thank you, Dr. Rolle. And really, when I thought of the topic, and in full disclosure, we are friends, first off. And so as we have our discussions about our friendship and what that means and how both of us are trying to be that better version of ourselves, we both realized that health was one of those barriers. And I use the term barrier that we ultimately had to make a decision, right? So do we want to be limited by the things that we were limited before? Right? 2023, 2022, and those things that we wanted to do, because we know in Christ we all are new creatures, but unfortunately we carry some of the same old behaviors. And so when we think about health, it's one of those things that falls into a few areas of our life that harnessing it, grabbing a hold of it, and taking control of where you want to be and what you want to do is totally up to you. Now, how you do that? We're going to talk about strategies in our discussion today, but it first starts with recognizing that, number one, you want to change. Now, when we think about change, that's a tough word because it also requires, and if you just change the G to a C, that you take a chance on doing something new. So that's really how health is reframed and how you approach it, the same way you would if you're changing anything. I told my son earlier today that the typical habit loop, right, breaking a habit takes 21 days, 3 weeks. The first week is to realize, the second week is to strategize, and the third week, you ready? It's to optimize. It's to move forward over those 3 weeks. Now, once you do that, don't get complacent. Then you move forward and transition somewhere else. I can go on for days. Dr. Rolle, hop on in.
Well, I like that you say strategize. And the second one was?
So it is basically recognize,
strategize, and optimize. Boy. And therefore, so it's been said, so many people want to change maybe their eating habits. They want to go to the gym at the beginning of the year and work out. But it's been said that truly the only one wants to change is a baby in a dirty diaper. And so everybody kept saying, I'm going to do this. And, last year I was diagnosed with something, had to undergo surgery, and we're going to talk about that. Today we're going to talk about nutrition. That's a great part, a big part of this harnessing your health, and to recognize and to strategize and optimize your health. And therefore, it's only one you. And you don't want to spend all of your money. You don't want to spend all of your time in 2024 with health issues. And so many people, they want to do that, doctor. They want to take back their lives, but they don't know how. And therefore, you do coaching, you do podcasts, and you're going to give out your social media handles at the end as well. And here are the 3 stages of life. And it starts with youth. You have all the time and energy, but no money. The adulthood, you have money and a lot of energy, but maybe no time. And then in old age, you have all the money and the time, but you have no energy. And the moral of the story is that you need to enjoy each moment. So let's talk about the basic food groups, and let's talk about plant-based diet. And we need to go back to Eden when you talk about recognizing, strategizing, and optimizing. Back in Eden, the Adam and Eve, they lived on top of the world, and you are an expert. You've done peer reviews in plant-based diet, and tell us why a plant-based diet is very critical and key for maintaining good health, and maybe what our plate should look like, as well as we want to know how we can make progress.
So another great question, and I would say hopefully one day you're going to have me back, because to talk about the benefits of a plant-based diet and how you transition your diet into a whole food plant-based diet, right? You like to put that piece on front, because when we think about a plant-based diet, right, people think, okay, plant-based diet, I'll add in some substitute foods. But the biggest thing, and I'm going to say something, Dr. ROLLE, and hopefully you won't throw me off the show, is the biggest thing in changing your diet is first deciding not to eat crap. I know I shouldn't say it that way, but CRAP is an acronym that stands for reducing or getting rid of carbonated beverages, that's the C, getting rid of refined sugars, right? Artificial sweeteners, finally getting rid of processed foods. If we just did that, right? Now, I want all my patients to transition their lifestyle and their diet into vegan diet. But if they just got rid of carbonated beverages, refined sugars, artificial sweeteners, and processed foods, I'd probably eliminate many of the issues: blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, progressive heart disease, heart failure. Many of those things can be eliminated and or reduced just by shifting your diet in that way. Now, if you want to take that next leap, as 70% of my patients have, into moving into a more plant-forward diet, then we'll have discussions about those 5 benefits of a plant-based diet, which include, but are not limited to, it reduces inflammation, it decreases oxidative stress, it increases and enhances, you ready for this, lean muscle mass, it reduces blood viscosity, and finally, it also has regenerative properties. Right? We know that by eating diets that are high in antioxidants and various things, certain parts of your body can change. And I know we're bound to this concept of genetics, right? Genetics, it's in my genes. I can't do anything about it. Well, there's a new scientific paradigm evolving called epigenetics. Epigenetics, what is that? Well, that's where your genetics are what they are, but your genes have the ability to be influenced, to be encouraged by external sources. And so even for me as a physician who always talk to my patients about, well, it's in your genes, well, now we know that those genes can be adjusted, modified, and encouraged to do the right thing.
Well, you were talking about the crap, and a lot of people, they love those sodas. And in fact, your weight can be really whatever you want your optimal weight to be. Cut out drinking the sodas, which have a lot of sugar in it. And then also the processed foods. So many people, especially kids, parents take them every day or every other day to McDonald's or Burger King and going to Subway, eating that processed meat and whatnot. So what should a person's plate look like?
Great question. So now when I think about what your plate should look like. Now, there's a ton of different, if you Google healthy plate, they'll show you. But what I like to think about is on the plate, draw a circle, right? Draw a circle, draw a line down the middle, so you have a whole half, and then draw another line, so you have a quarter and a quarter. So a half and a quarter and a quarter. So ideally, now this is coming from a heartfelt cardiologist, right? Half the plate should be things that grow in a garden or on a tree. Fruits and vegetables, half of your plate. I know, it's scary. A fourth of your plate should be some lean protein. Now for me, I don't eat animals, right? So I use plant sources of protein, but whatever that protein source is for you, some lean protein source in there. And then in the bottom portion of the plate, that other quarter, right, it should be some complex carbohydrate or starch of some sort. And if you look at, and a lot of people say, well, culturally, we don't eat like that. Well, I know that most people have some sort of rice or some sort of grain or something in that quarter. Most people will have meat, but adding or increasing the amount of vegetables, fresh fruits and vegetables that you have will allow you to reap those benefits of a plant-forward diet. So that's the face of your plate.
Okay, well, explain to them when you don't eat animal meat, what is that plant-based protein?
Great question, because a lot of people say, well, where do you get your protein, Dr. Batts? And you commented earlier, I look fit, right? I was a Division I athlete and still engage, and I'm still very active and have a host of different offerings from a fitness standpoint. But what we have to understand is that it's not that animal products are bad, and I'm saying that sounds crazy, but it's the other things that come along with it, right? But you want the protein, but you don't want the saturated fat. You don't want the heme iron. You don't want these other things that have what we call carcinogenic properties or things that can cause cancer. So the places where I get my protein is I get them with beans and lentils. And actually, if you eat enough vegetables, you will get protein. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't say I do supplement, because for me, I'm looking to put on muscle and to maintain muscle. And you said when you get older, you don't have energy. I'm hoping when I'm in my 70s, 80s, and 90s, I'm doing the same things. And so I'm taking care of my body now, but I do supplement and take a multivitamin to make sure that I'm rounding out my diet in the most appropriate way for me.
And it said about Moses that his eyes were not dim and his natural forces were not abated. So I gave those 3 stages. And you know, it's sad when you and I went to school, we had fitness and we had to take gym for credit. And now a lot of the kids today in school, they don't, fitness is not a part of the curriculum. Okay, so we learned about what that plate should look like. Talk about sleep very quickly, talked about exercise, and also I hear also walking is man's best medicine.
It is. So, and I guess I always like to give numbers and simple acronyms. So there's a program that I have for elementary schools, right? And you say, elementary schools, why are you teaching heart health in elementary school? Because we know that even in utero, we can start to see some of the changes, fatty streaks, that occur, especially in babies, unfortunately, where their mothers have risk factors for heart disease. But that's another discussion. But when we talk about how you structure certain things, think about 9-5-2-1-0. That's it. Remember those numbers, 9-5-2-1-0. At least, if possible, 9 hours of sleep, right? That's our goal. Tough to get, right? 9-5, right? So 5 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables every day, right? 2, right? 2 hours of some activity, whether it's walking, outside, doing that. For kids, I say 1. The 1 is 1 hour of screen time a day. I know that is scary, especially if you have children watching. And 0 sugar-sweetened beverages and or candies frequently, right? Of course, Christmas time and holidays, you can do that. But sleeping, we know when you don't sleep, guess what happens? You can't repair. You don't get the benefit from the foods that you eat and the various things like that, because sleep is your body's time to hit that, and you said it, delete, reset, all those buttons that allow us to re-trigger our body. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're not allowing your body to do that.
It also has been said, studies have shown that when you laugh heartily, your metabolism picks up, muscles get exercise, and neurochemicals stream into your bloodstream. And the Bible talks, Proverbs says that a merry heart doeth good like medicine. It takes more muscles to frown than it takes to smile. And in a study at the Western New England College in Springfield, volunteers watched either Richard Pryor live film or humorless educational film, and a bellyful laughter even slowed down and was able to combat cancer, I hear. Wow. You do a lot of peer-based article, and let's get into some heart disease. That's your specialty, amyloidosis and sudden death. And you shared with me last couple of months ago, there was a young man that experienced sudden death. And and heart disease is very prevalent today, even among a lot of young people. So let's talk about amyloidosis, and then talk about the sudden death, and what can we do to combat that, and to just really know certain symptoms and then stay alive.
Wow, so great question. And so I'll touch on amyloidosis first, simply because you're going to start to see more and more information come out in the broader media. So amyloid is a condition where your body produces a protein. That protein floats around the body, and in many cases, the body either breaks it down before it creates an issue, or the body gets rid of it. Well, in some cases, due to one type or another, the body makes too much of that protein and it can't get rid of it. Or in other cases, the mechanism to excrete it or get rid of it is impacted, so more of that protein hangs around. Cardiac amyloid specifically is where one of those components of the protein decides to land or take residence in the heart. This creates what we call a non-ischemic cardiomyopathy. Non-ischemic just means that it's not due to a heart artery blockage. Cardiomyopathy, cardio means heart, myo, muscle, opathy, disease of the heart muscle. Many times, especially in African Americans, when you visit your doctors, they'll say, hey, your numbers look one way, your numbers look this, but amyloid, because we oftentimes used to think it was a rare condition, and it's still relatively rare, we never thought about it. But by the time we find out that folks with carpal tunnel syndrome, chronic back pain, in men sometimes erectile, other things like that create issues, these all can be subject to amyloid. And so now we're starting to screen and identify patients more who have amyloid to ensure that, number one, we're identifying that patient's risk, but also talking to that patient about the family risk associated with amyloid. Now, amyloid in and of itself, as it progresses, can create some other issues, one of which is sudden death. Sudden death is just where the heart stops due to one of three reasons, either an electrical problem, typically, or a heart artery blockage, or a problem with the structure of the heart. With amyloid, because that protein or those things are getting into the heart cells and creating that electrical disturbance, electrical issues typically will predominate. Now, the way as a cardiologist that we try to reduce the risk or decrease that sudden death risk is we place or recommend a defibrillator, which is a device placed underneath the skin, and we put wires inside the heart to shock the heart when it goes into an abnormal rhythm. I know this sounds scary, but many of the things just involve understanding your body, identifying when things change, and then making sure you talk to your doctor about issues when they do occur.
All right, let's put up your contact information, and you go around the country lecturing. You also, you invited me, there it is right there, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, as well as your YouTube, as well as your website. Mm-hmm. Talk about what you do on the podcast and how people can tune in to hear some of these very informational as well as educational talks that you do on your podcast, as well as you also have articles. You have given me articles about amyloidosis, treatment options, sudden death. Talk about, before you do that, and then also you're into videography, photography, and your son Quentin also is skilled and trained in that area. Right. Tell what happened to that young boy with the sudden death, and then you can talk about some of your articles, and then we will have to just kind of wrap up, and we'll definitely have you back again on a live program, because many of our viewers and listeners on Facebook and Keep It Real, and Winning World over in Nigeria, and our centers will call in with questions. Wow. And so we'll have you back on a live program. So that's sudden death. And how old was he? And you don't have to go into a lot of description and detail, but we have a lot of children that are overweight. Right. And they are prone for heart attack and heart problems.
Yes, sir. So the tough part with that is this was a healthy young man. He was a football player. He had scored the winning touchdown at his school. This was about a year ago, and at the time he was 14 or 15 years old. His story is that he just didn't feel right when he was talking to the coach or listening to the coach. That's the last thing he remembered. Next thing he knew, he was in an ambulance being rushed to an emergency hospital in his local area, but they couldn't take care of him because of the type of heart condition that he had. He was life flighted to Dallas, and just only by the grace of God that he was able to pull through. But when you think about it, at that time, he had open heart surgery. Because the condition was of such a high risk, he also had to have a defibrillator placed. Well, today, he's really a huge advocate to make sure that people are aware of how to take care of folks and what to do in that sense. And so his story is one that has prompted me to really have a discussion about life after the locker room. And so on my podcast, the About That Life podcast, the podcast about life or living intentionally forever, we have various athletes, Olympians. We have individuals from the NFL, from the NBA coming on and talking about their health challenges after they finished professional sport. Because we always think about the athlete. I'm a former athlete. My daughter was a Division I athlete. My son is an athlete. And it's just part of what we do that we are almost immune. But what we're finding is that exercise, although protective, does not eliminate us from that risk. And so through that lens of our podcast, shows like this, where we highlight the importance of understanding emergency response, understanding your symptoms, I think is a powerful tool that should not only be spread locally, nationally, as well as in the international space.
All right. How old was that young man?
He was 14 at the time.
14 years old. All right. Put back up his social media handles right quick. And then we want you to give a 30-minute takeaway. Contact Dr. Batts, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, also website, and his podcast on YouTube. And so you can see that and give us a 30-minute takeaway from today's program of New Year, New You, harnessing your health.
Thank you. First off, I want to say thank you to Dr. ROLLE and his team for having me on today. But when you think about the information that we discussed today about how to change or how to move forward, we know that the longest journey starts by taking the first step. Whether that step is through the lens of nutrition, sleep, optimizing your health, or many of those other pillars of lifestyle medicine, we know that they are centered on being socially connected. That's right. Whether you connect with Dr. ROLLE and his team through their website, ROLLE Ambassador Ministry, or any other mechanism where you can feel connected to someone else, they're going to do two things. Number one, they're going to make sure that you're held accountable. Number two, they're going to make sure that they truly embody your health, wellness, and how well you're connected.
Well, Dr. Batts, thank you very much. And as you can see, we have a gift, Keep It Real cup for you, as well as a card, and we will definitely have you back. Well, you have heard how to harness the power of your health. A wise man, a person should consider that health is the greatest of human blessings, and this is by Hippocrates. And there is only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance, by Socrates. You don't want either. So this year, I take responsibility for my destiny. My attitude is positive. I will make every day count. This year, I will not be denied. I will be at the right place at the right time, every time. This year, I will reassess my needs, my goals, my progress, my investment, readdress my debt. But most of all, I'm going to harness my health, because health is wealth and wealth is your health. So if you can put up our Keep It Real sign so we can see that glamorous queen there, Sister Joy. Our Keep It Real TV 49, this is episode 50. You can go back and view all of them from last year. Call us 346-813-0222. There's our email. You can email your views and comments, and we'll get them to Dr. Batts, as well as you can go on his social media. And then we want to close with this, a special meal for you today. He talked about that composition of that plate. A plate of love, a bowl of peace, a fork of care, and a glass of prayer. Enjoy your meal, for you are under God's care. So, Dr. Batts, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we want to inspire, motivate, and challenge you to harness the power of your health. And on the count of three, if you look at the camera with your health, we want you to keep it real. 1, 2, 3. Keep it real.